The African eartheater. We usually picture South American cichlids as the only ones that sift through substrates. Michael Cageman introduces a rare fish from Africa that has its own earth-eating strategy. Many aquarists will already be aware of the South and Central American earth-eaters, cichlids of Amphilophus and Geophagus. But did you know that there are also African earth-eaters? These not only behave like their American counterparts, sifting through sand for edible particles before spitting it out again, but they also bear a striking resemblance to the fishes of Geophagus. Meet the African earth-eaters of Tylochromis. Alas, these are hardly known within the hobby, in part due to their scant availability, but also because of the bland and silvery plumage of the juveniles. This latter point is a shame, as adults carry stunning colours, but you need to be patient. The true markings don't become apparent until the fish reach around 20 centimetres. Worse still, that can easily take 2 or 3 years to achieve. Tylochromis are slow growers. Tylochromis history. Until the beginning of the 20th century, only a few of these fish were described, originally placed in the genre of Palatilapia or Pelmatachromis. It was not until 1920 that the ichthyologist Charles Tate Reagan placed several species into an independent genus, Tylochromis. For a long time, neither the hobby nor science paid any attention to Tylochromis. This changed in 1990, when ichthyologist Melanie Stiasny took up the genus and revised it, at the same time describing new species. This brought the genus up to 18 valid species, but there will almost certainly be more. Since the time of the revision, a number of new species have been discovered in the Congo. However, since 1990, nothing has changed in the status of the species or in the genus Tylochromis. This has to do with poor availability of the species in general, but also with the lack of interest in this genus among ichthyologists. The described species as they currently stand are T. microdon, T. aristoma, T. pulchra, T. leonensis, T. intermedius, T. gentinki, T. sudanensis, T. vawase, T. precox, T. robertsi, T. elongatus, T. laceralis, T. labrador, T. mylodon, T. regan, T. variabilis, T. banguelensis, and T. polypus. Distribution and habitat. All representatives of the genus Tylochromis occur in Africa, but Africa is a big place and Tylochromis has a relatively large distribution, which is limited to the sub-Saharan part of this continent, south of the Sahara. An interesting point is that although the genus occurs in the Middle Niger system and the Benue system, it is absent from all systems of the Nile and Sudan. This includes a presence in the upper reaches of the Kasi system and the Shaba region, where there is an absence in the entire Zambezi system. Stiasny notes that the range of Tylochromis almost mirrors that of hemichromine and pelmatochromine fishes. The habitat of Tylochromis is chiefly characterized by main rivers and open water parts of large lakes, and even in brackish water lagoons, though some species can also be found in smaller rivers where they tend to live near rapids. In my opinion, the genus can be divided into two groups: lake-dwelling lacustrine species and river-dwelling fluvial species. Examples of lacustrine species are T. polypus and T. banguelensis, while examples of fluviatile species include T. laceralis, T. sudanensis, and T. trewavase. What all species have in common, however, is that they like to live in biotopes where the bottom consists of a predominantly sandy substrate. This ties in with their feeding method, sifting through sand and fine gravel in search of morsels. Tylochromis are benthic-bound fishes, which means that they are always restricted to living over and closely to the substrates of wherever they are found. Some studies have shown that their food items mainly consist of organic and inorganic substrate particles. Large and small invertebrates such as mollusks, crustaceans and worms, insects and even snails. There are even some species adapted to eating snails, and research into the pharyngeal, throat teeth, has revealed teeth that are extremely thickened, perfect for crushing through tough shells. Males and females. It is difficult to describe the build of Tylochromis in general, as some deviate from any general pattern. But as a loose rule, one can say that they are mostly deep-bodied fish. The forehead runs convexly upwards, and the males are larger than the females in all known species. Males and females can even be distinguished from each other when they aren't spawning. Males grow larger depending on the species, ranging from 20 centimeters to as much as 45 centimeters. As males mature, they begin to develop a dotted or spotted pattern on their head, depending on the species. Another distinctive feature is also only present in males, namely a stripe pattern that can look totally different between species. Furthermore, males show colour in the dorsal fin. Females, on the other hand, show a mostly silvery basic colour, and almost always present some red at the lower end of the tail fin. But the most striking feature is the presence of a red spot at the tip of the mouth. The female only shows this patch when she is ready to mate. This red mark has a clear function during the breeding season. Specifically, this spot acts as an indicator of a safe haven for fry. When Tylochromis young are spooked, they head for this clearly visible red spot, and thus into the mouth and away from danger. This characteristic is completely absent in males, but while females are generally dull in colour, males can more than make up for that. Tylochromis lateralis. Of the very few specimens available in the aquarium trade, T. lateralis is the only species which appears at all, and only once every few years. Even then, it usually arrives as bycatch, as it isn't explicitly sought out for by collectors, mainly due to the fact that Tylochromis look like silver herrings up to adult stage. This didn't discourage me when, to my surprise, I unexpectedly found 3 specimens for sale in an aquarium shop. I immediately bought 3 of the silverfish and took them home and put them in a 250 centimeter aquarium where I hoped they could quickly grow on. No common name. Scientific name, Tylochromis lateralis. Pronunciation, Tylochromis lateralis. Size, to about 26 centimeters. Origin, Africa, in regions spreading over and out from the Congo River. Habitat, sandy rivers with rocks and wood. Tank size, 250 by 50 centimeters. Water requirements, soft and acidic water, 5 to 6 pH, 1 to 6 H. Temperature, 24 to 26 degrees Celsius. Temperament, surprisingly peaceful, if sometimes territorial cichlid. Feeding, offer flakes, pellets, live and frozen daphnia, bloodworm, artemia, mysis, and some vegetable matter. Availability and cost. Incredibly rare, usually only available as an accidental bycatch. Prices subject to availability. Water volume, 625 litres plus. Because of its scarcity, I quickly discovered a lack of information available. I started looking for first descriptions of Tylochromis species in general, and then of lateralis in particular. I ran into a wall and could not find anything. The species is mentioned in scientific literature about fish from the Congo, and then specifically about where it occurs, but that's it. The distribution of Tylochromis lateralis is usually mentioned as the middle course of the Congo River, but it is also found in tributaries such as the Kasai, Dua, Lula, Sankuru, Sanga, Tushapa, and Intumbiri. In these rivers, it mainly inhabits those parts of rivers where the soil is sandy, and of course because of its earth-eating behaviour. It turns out this is something it eagerly continues to do in the aquarium. Did you know? Tylochromis lateralis flesh is reported to taste the same as that of the Nile perch. Aquarium needs. I would recommend keeping Tylochromis only if you can offer them a tank of at least 250 centimeters long, as they need a lot of swimming space. I have also found out that Tylochromis like to have a strong current in their biotype, so this should be provided. For a substrate, a thick layer of sand mixed with fine gravel will suffice. A few stones, I chose basalt stones as they are also present in the Congo River, and some tangles of wood will help complete the aquarium. Aquatic plants are possible and will largely be ignored. Think Anubias, Bulbitis, Crinum, and even Vallisneria. Adult and dominant males are territorial and will hunt down congeners. The hunting distance is about 2 meters, after which the chasing stops. Furthermore, one should always ensure that the water quality is good. In this case, clear water with little or no suspended matter should be provided, something that can easily be achieved with a large and capable filter. My internal filter passes about 10,000 litres per hour, which directly provides the necessary flow in the water. It is possible to house other fish with Tylochromis lateralis. I myself have done so with Pelmatochromis nigrofasciatus and Pelmatilapia mariae. Both species were tolerated without any problems. However, fish from other genera such as Orcanaglanis, Mastacemblis, Tetrodon, and even Morimrids can also be kept together. When it comes to feeding, almost all kinds of foods offered are accepted. I feed pellets, flake food, spirulina and ordinary flakes, but large flakes, adult Artemia, mysis, and both black and white mosquito larvae. As Tylochromis species are sand sifters, they always spend some time shoveling through the substrate after feeding, where scraps are still present. So it's no problem at all to offer finer foods, as they search the bottom anyway. Slow growers. In a little over 2 years in their huge tank, my fish have grown to between 12 and 18 centimetres. My experience suggests that they all grow slowly and therefore only show their true colours relatively late in life. Still, as my fish were growing, I could observe differences between them, indicating that I had different sexes. In the larger specimen, I could increasingly see a blotch and stripe pattern in the tail fin, which was a suggestion that this had to be a male specimen. I found out that work done by Melanie Stiassany said that males have this pattern in their tails. On the head, just behind the gills, I also noticed a dark vertical band. In other specimens, I saw no such changes, so I hoped that these would be females, something that was later confirmed. In at least one specimen, I could see a red-coloured spot in the corners of the mouth. Breeding. Since there have been very few aquarists who have kept Tylochromis, it is unsurprising that there is no information available on breeding. Here again, I had done some research, but to no avail. So what I tried to do was imitate the natural conditions as closely as possible. The biggest problem for me was, and still is, changing the water with a pH value of 5 to 6 and a low conductivity of 50 to 100 US. My water values were as follows: a pH of close to 7 and a conductivity of approximately 200 US. These values are very different from the values in which these fish occur in nature, pH 4.5 to 5.5 and a conductivity from 40 to 70 US. But in spite of that, I tried to let my Tylochromis lateralis reproduce in it, and I can proudly report that I succeeded in breeding them for the very first time in captivity. Display and deposition. The courtship and reproduction period is announced by the male digging a sand crater in an open area of the aquarium, much like the nests of the Tanganyikan cichlids of the genus Ophthalmotilapia. The male starts to show his beautiful colours, especially across the head, in the run up to courtship. With a trembling body and spread fins, the male swims in front of the female and steers her towards the nest. When the female is ready, she follows, and then they start laying the eggs. The eggs are laid in groups of 3 to 6 on the sand, after which the male immediately fertilizes them and the female takes them in her mouth. This is repeated several times, and depending on the size of the female, some 30 to 50 eggs will be laid. Tylochromis lateralis is an ovophile mouth brooder, meaning that the female takes in relatively large fertilized eggs, roughly 3 millimeters in size, in her mouth, and incubates them there until they are able to swim freely. Only then the female releases the youngsters into the immediate environment. At the point of release, the fry measure about 10 to 12 millimeters. The gestation period of the eggs and larvae until the female releases the young depends on water temperature and the other fish in the aquarium. If these fish are perceived as a threat after the full gestation period, the female will keep her young in her mouth as long as she can. but in general the breeding time is about 17 to 18 days, at least it was in the case of my tank, at a water temperature of around 24 degrees Celsius. The rearing of young Tylochromis proved to be no easy task. It appeared to me that, much like the parents, the young need clear and acidic water. If this is not provided, they will slowly but surely die. Just as important is the need to feed the juveniles often, especially during the period of growth up to around 4 to 5 centimeters, and that requires a mainly vegetable diet. When the juveniles have reached a length of 5 to 6 centimeters, they are much less sensitive and can tolerate more variety in both food and water conditions. If all the above-mentioned preconditions are adhered to, every aquarium enthusiast will enjoy keeping Tylochromis laceralis.